Sound of wind whistling followed by a soft, ethereal hum. You ever feel like you don't quite belong? Like there's a piece of your past you just can't remember? A name on the tip of your tongue you can never quite speak? For Alejandro, that feeling wasn't just a mood. It was his entire existence. For centuries, he walked the earth, a man out of time. He saw empires rise and fall, tasted the joys and sorrows of countless human lives, but always felt like an outsider looking in. He was immortal, but he didn't know why. He just knew he was different. He lived, he loved, he lost over and over, a ghost haunting the timeline of humanity. Then one day the world started to change. The sky turned a sickly shade of crimson. The ground trembled with a deep, unsettling rhythm, and a wave of despair washed over humanity. It was a feeling Alejandro recognized in his very soul, a primal fear he hadn't felt in millennia. And with that fear, the dam in his mind broke. Sound of shattering glass, followed by a powerful angelic chord. Memories, sharp and blinding, flooded his consciousness. He wasn't just Alejandro, the immortal wanderer. He was Azrael, an angel of the celestial choir, who had once stood beside the morning star in a rebellion that shook the foundations of heaven. He remembered bowing before the throne of God, begging for forgiveness, his heart heavy with regret. But forgiveness wasn't given freely. God's voice echoed in his memory, not with anger, but with a profound sadness. "Prove your worth," the voice had said. And with that, he was cast down, his grace stripped, his memory wiped, sentenced to live among the very beings his brethren sought to corrupt until the end of days. Now, the end was here. The despair plaguing humanity wasn't random. It was a deliberate, orchestrated attack. 4 other fallen, his former comrades, had been awakened from their subterranean prisons. They were the architects of this new chaos, planning to twist the earth into a new, darker version of hell. Alejandro felt their corrupting influence like a poison in the air. He was a weapon, forged in celestial fire and tempered by human experience, and his time for redemption had finally come. Sound of crackling energy and a powerful whoosh, but he wasn't alone. As he stood amidst the growing panic, 2 columns of pure, blinding light descended from the heavens. When the light faded, 2 figures stood before him, their power radiating in waves. It was Michael, the archangel, his expression grim, a blade of pure starlight in his hand. And beside him, Gabriel, the divine messenger, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and sorrow. "Brother!" Michael's voice boomed, not with judgment, but with a warrior's respect. "Your exile is over. The final battle is upon us. Will you stand with heaven one last time?" Alejandro looked at the terrified humans cowering in the streets, at the world that had been his home, his purgatory, and his classroom for eons. He had been sent here as a punishment, but he had found a new purpose. He was no longer just a fallen angel seeking entry back to heaven. He was a guardian. With a nod, celestial energy, long dormant, surged through him. It wasn't the pure, serene light of the archangels, but something different, a fusion of divine fire and mortal grit. "They will not have this world," Alejandro declared, his voice a blend of human emotion and angelic power. "Let's give them hell." The 3 of them stood together, a trinity of divine might, ready to face the darkness and fight for the soul of humanity.